us our entire lives. We go to the brain, the mind. We offer thanks, and we also offer obeisance to the mind to keep positive thoughts and keep away negativity, to be our friend. Atmane eva atman mano bandhuhu. The mind alone is our friend. So we keep in contact and offer our obeisance to the mind. Now let's continue. Next, we offer our obeisance. Next, we offer our obeisance to all our different teachers in life, starting with our parents, and then continuing grade school. Picture them all in your mind, coming and going, all the different teachers we've had in our lives. Junior high, elementary, high school, university. You see them all. And also not only them, but others in our lives who have been teachers to us. Events which have taught us. And finally, our guru, our spiritual teacher, who's given us the knowledge that can take us towards liberation. And finally, ending with our Ishtadevata, Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda, whoever, Christ, Buddha, whoever is dearest to you, picture them in the cave of your heart. And keep breathing. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. We can slowly open our eyes, but keeping that same equanimity of mind. Okay. Okay. So when we do these exercises, I said we can link with first our breath. We link our breath with gratitude, mindfulness, and ultimately what we can do, we can link our breath with those of you who are initiated, our mantra. Our mantra, or if you're not initiated, you can simply repeat Om or anything holy. But that's always a nice thing to do. Ultimately, linking the breath with the mantra, if we can really do that, then at the time of death, we will not have anything to fear. So this is when we can really do that. That's called ajapa. Ajapa means incessantly, constantly. The mind goes on, the breath goes on, every part of the body goes on, repeating the name of the Lord. Okay, so let's now start. Let's all go to I'll open up we'll continue with Bryant. And let me just open that up. I hope I'm able to share. Okay, good. Can everyone see the screen? One second. I also want to.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, you can see. Okay, good. And one other. Does everyone have either the Devanagari or just does everyone have the mantras in front of them? Can they see that? Did I send anything for that or no? Okay, if not, I'll have to send something. I think Celestia, next time I'll send something to you that we can because I want to send that to everybody as well.
I think you sent a document,
but I sent the document and that's one document, but I also wanted to, okay, I can go through, I guess we can do it. This is a little bit long. So those of you I sent this document, I think everybody received it. It's a little bit long, but we'll start with the different mantras and I'll chant and I'll chant it once and then we'll chant it together. Okay. It's going to take time. So I'll just start. Atha yoga anushasanam. You guys can unmute yourself now. Otherwise we can't hear.
Atha yoga.
Atha yoga anushasanam.
Yogas chitta vitti nirodhaha.
Yoga chitta vritti
nirodha.
Tadadashtu swarupe avasthanam.
Tadadrashtu sharupe avasthanam.
Vritti sarupyam itaratra.
Vritti sarupyam itaratra.
Vrittaya panchataya klishtaha.
Vrittaya panchataya
klishta.
klishta.
Okay, good. So we'll now continue with Bryant where we left off last time. Let's go to page 50 right here. Does everyone have Bryant? I'll show it here, but I think I sent Bryant, so yeah. Again, we're talking about the different types of vrittis. So let me just ask, someone could say, what are klishta vrittis? What does that mean?
It creates bondage.
Yeah, it creates bondage, yes.
Hurtful.
What was that?
Hurtful.
Hurtful, yes. Hurtful. We said kleshas. Kleshas mean pain-bearing obstructions. And what are aklishta vrittis?
Not painful.
Benign.
Yeah, not benign. What does that mean? Not painful, benign. What exactly does that mean? Let's go one step further.
It's a sattvic. It creates liberation.
Yes. So these are our spiritual vrittis, our spiritual samskaras that are already within us. So our job is to give that further momentum.
Swami,
Yes.
this is Swayam.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Klishta and Klesha?
They're the same things. It's just klesha is the root, the Sanskrit root. Klesh means this. It's a dhatu which means pain bearing, and klishta is just a derivative of that, but same thing. The same thing basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's continue then. Okay. Since I have, let's see, I have Chetan here. Why don't you read Chetan? This you can read this right here. We'll practice what everyone can take turns reading. Go over this passage right here, Vyasa.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Can you see it? Or
Okay.
I can read if you want me to.
Okay, are you able to read?
Can you see? Can you see Vyasa? Like, can you see?
No, oh no, I meant Lakshmi, you can read it. I meant sorry,
Okay.
you can read. Yeah.
All right. I mean, because his,
Yeah, that no, actually meant you. Are you sitting in
Okay, sure. Okay. Vyasa states that the practice of yoga becomes successful, that is firmly established when accompanied by austerity, celibacy, knowledge, and faith. Under these conditions, it's not immediately overwhelmed by the ingrained habits of the mind. Vachaspati Mishra calls these habits, which are samskaras, that impel the mind outward into the sensual realm, highway robbers. He acknowledges that the sattvic nature of the mind, tranquility and calmness, is often overcome by rajas and tamas. But if one maintains one's practice, then eventually the mind becomes steadfast and concentrated. If one gives up one's practice, however, one's mind immediately becomes overwhelmed again. Hence, this verse indicates that the practice of yoga has to be cultivated uninterruptedly and with devotion for a long period of time.
Yes. So so if one gives up one's practice, however, one's mind immediately becomes overwhelmed again. So so I think that one thing is that so the practice of yoga to become successful, yes, we say austerity, celibacy, depending upon what stage we're at again. We've talked about that before. So celibacy is something that for those who are spiritual aspirants. So what do we mean by celibacy? That means from where we are, it's normally we think of it as brahmacharya. But it's like Swami Prabhupada says that actually Ramakrishna said that. So if we just married or things like having one or two children, and then slowly, idea that as we study these scriptures, that idea automatically comes that we live more and more like brother and sister as we get older. So knowledge and faith. So these knowledge means what? A study of the scriptures, our vichara, are constantly discriminating between the real and the unreal, and ultimately faith, the shraddha. Does anyone have any? What does faith mean? What do you think they mean? Jyoti, are you there? I see Elizabeth. Do you want to say what do you think faith might mean? Hi, Jyoti. You have to turn it on. You have to turn on the microphone. I think you're muted. Yeah, go ahead, Jyoti ji. Yes. Nice to see you.
No, I'm going to pass on that question, if I may, please.
Oh, sure,
Respectfully.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, sure. Okay. So we might think that faith might mean that I've not had the experience yet, but it's something achievable. That it's something that it's something that over time can be achieved. So I think when we talk about faith, that's one thing we can say. Does anyone else want to say there's something called blind faith, and that's not what we're talking about here. Go ahead, Rajiv. Did you want to give a reply? Go ahead.
I also feel it's like opposite of arrogance. It's like um sometimes I think we just want to debate or like question in an arrogance. So there's that aspect also
Right.
for that.
Right. That's true. So I think that faith is also that we're trying to, that's a good point, Rajiv. So I think that what we're trying to do, we're not questioning with arrogance, we're questioning to seek to understand for ourselves. Go ahead, Lakshmi ji, go ahead.
I think, like looking at it, I'm just thinking if it is belief or confidence to be like, so I have the confidence to be able to achieve it, which was similar to what you talked about. And also belief in oneself that this is achievable.
Right, right. So do you think that that's something that's natural, or is it something that has to be cultivated?
It depends. So some of it is innate. Like if I'm really good in math, then I would have faith in math. Okay, I can do it. But some of it, like, I mean, I'm just using math as an example. But like,
Right.
So it actually gives that confidence to build more on it. But if it is something that I don't have, if it is not innate, then it has to be. And if it is something that I really, really want to do, like God realization, then that is something that I need to work towards it.
Okay. Okay. So let's just think
Swami?
about that. Yeah, yeah. Who's speaking?
Yeah. Yeah, this is why I should turn
Oh,
my
yeah.
video on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking that faith is when, like you said, I have not yet experienced myself, but whether it's the scriptures or beings that I think are holier than I am at this stage, they say they have experienced it. So I'm going to go by that and put my stake in that. Yes, it is real. That's something that I can achieve by practice, like putting weight onto the statements of holy ones.
Yes, that's true. And that's true. That's this Shraddha and the acharyas, the holy people. That's one thing. And I think also, if any of us, if we look at, it's a miracle that we're all come out alive in spite of everything. We're sitting here right now discussing these ideas. So I think also we can look in our own life, and it's hard to do sometimes, but to look in our own life and think, wow, I've come through all of that. So, some faith in ourselves, like you were mentioning, and also the idea that, uh, you know, again, knowing our own strength too, and being able to build upon that. Let's go to the next line right now. Let's see, Shailesh, since you're there, why don't you read this next paragraph, please?
Swamiji, Jyoti's hands
Oh yeah,
raised.
Jyoti, please.
I just wanted to share, I love this scripture from the King James, Hebrews 11. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Can you please say that again?
Faith is
Yeah.
the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
What does he mean by the substance of things hoped for? What do you think he means by that?
It is like the ground. It's like the ground in our being.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, it's hard to
Yeah,
describe.
sure. Yeah.
And the evidence of things not seen is, we don't see Mother exactly, but we see this beautiful world that she created.
Right.
And we see so much, that is evidence of her existence, even though.
Yes. That's very true. That's very true. So I think ultimately let's also let that idea sit in our mind. What does faith? What does faith mean in our spiritual life? It's like a work in progress to actually understand this. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. Sailesh, do you want to read that next one right
Yes,
here?
I can read.
Yeah, go ahead.
We correlate Chitta with a garden, Sattva with a beautiful bed of fragrant and attractive flowers, and Rajas and Tamas with weeds and pests, then we have a useful metaphor for the practice of yoga. As any gardener knows, maintaining a garden takes a devotion and uninterrupted weeding and pest control for a prolonged period of time. In fact, these processes can never be interrupted, since within a remarkably short period of time, Even the most devotedly cultivated garden becomes overwhelmed by weeds and pests. If left unattended, all one's hard work is easily undone.
Okay. So Ramakrishna, it's funny, Ramakrishna uses that metaphor of the gardener or the farmer who devotedly, even if he doesn't get the crop or yield, he keeps going every day and maintains that steadiness and that routine. So that's something that we all have to strive for. And what the sadhus really and the sannyasis really emphasize, maintaining that routine and that steadiness. Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's really hard, you know.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah.
Thakur compares that with the copper pot, and then here it's the garden. I mean, I know I take care of my yard, and same thing with the mind. I don't know why it is so difficult. You know, it seems like it's all in the realm of Maya, that the garden will have weeds and the mind will have all kinds of unwanted things in it. So just very difficult.
Okay, that's very true. In fact, these processes can, since within a remarkably short period of time. So what he's talking about here are these klishta vrittis that it takes a long time to cultivate these aklishta vrittis, these spiritual vrittis. It takes devotion and uninterrupted weeding and pest control for a long period of time. In fact, these processes can never be interrupted. But sometimes happens that we sometimes take a break, and then we see that the whole thing comes comes undone. So somehow touching base, a minimum goal every day. Swayam, go ahead. Swamiji, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think I'm pulling weeds right now of everything that has grown since morning.
Right, and that's well, that's important to do as well. That's we're going to see what he says here. But that's also important to pull the weeds. So both parts are important with that. The next one, Jyoti, do you want to read this next paragraph right here? Like,
I'd love to. Which paragraph? It starts with likewise.
Yeah, yes.
Likewise with yoga, the cultivation of sattva takes constant attention and cultivation. The minute the yogi relaxes his or her practices and vigilance, Baskapati Mishra's highway robbers of Rajasic and Tamasic samskaras overwhelm the sattvic qualities so arduously developed. This is because, like weeds, samskaras are never actually eliminated or destroyed. They remain in a latent subconscious state and thus can become activated at any moment unless constantly curtailed. Although, as will be discussed below, they can be burnt by certain practices, rendering them inoperable. Hence Patanjali's notion of devoted uninterruptedness over a prolonged period.
Yeah, so this is really important. So sometimes we think that we've overcome some bad habit, say, not eating it, whatever, eating in whatever it may be, or drinking too much, or whatever it may be, or anything. And so then what happens is that, but you see, it says that any of us that we struggle to overcome some bad habit, and we think, okay, I'm now okay with it. They say in positive psychology, in clinical psychology, if you do something for 66 straight days, it becomes a habit, a good habit. So maybe for 66 straight days, we wake up early. But if after for a few days, we don't wake up at the right time, those bad habits are there. They've not gone away. They're at what is a state called prasupta. They're dormant, but they're also, I think someone has their, everyone please keep them on mute, please. I think someone's in the background. Okay. And so even then, if one day we stop these bad habits, they're not gone away. Same thing in relationships too. We think that this person or myself, okay, I've now overcome the quality of anger. For so many days, I've not become angry. Yet what we see is, again, that quality comes up. So it's always a constant work in progress. That's what it's trying to say. It just doesn't go away like that. Okay. Bhaskar, would you like to read the next one right here? This
Yes. As an aside, many Hindu gurus and yogis have been embroiled in scandals that have brought disrepute to the transplantation of yoga and other Indic spiritual systems to the West. This sutra provides a mechanism of interpreting such occurrences. If one reads the early hagiographics of many Hindu gurus whose integrity was later found compromised, one is struck by the intensity, devotedness, and the accomplishments of their initial practices. Nonetheless, however accomplished a yogi may become, if he or she abandons the practice of yoga under the notion of being enlightened or of having arrived at a point beyond the need of practice, it may be only a matter of time before past samskaras, including those of the past sensual indulgences, now unimpeded by practice, begin to surface. The result is scandal and traumatized disciples. There is no flower bread, however perfected, that can counteract the relentless emergence of weed if left unattended. As Patanjali will discuss later in the text, as long as one is embodied, samskaras remain latent and therefore potential in the chitta. Hence, one can read this sutra as indicating that since the practice of yoga must be uninterrupted, one would be wise to politely avoid yogis or gurus who claim to have attained a state of enlightenment such that they have transcended the need for practice and renunciation prescribed by Patanjali here.
Yeah, I think that what they're saying there is that, I'll say it. Yeah, there's sometimes you see, sometimes that, they, especially, you see some people, they get some publicity as being enlightened, and then, whatever, then they fall. So they could have had some genuine spiritual experience. We're not saying that they were not, but it has to be maintained. That's the whole thing. Same thing with us as well. You might have had some spiritual experience or not, but more than that is the practices and the habits and cultivating good habits, which is what the great struggle is, which is what we're talking about here. What are these habits? These habits of aklishta vrittis, spiritual habits, meditating the same time every day, reading scriptures, developing what you call doing it enough till what? Till you develop this rasham, some type of a taste for it, some taste for this, for the spiritual. Does everyone understand that? The rasham, this, not a taste for gossip, not a taste for what's going on, but remember Ramakrishna talked about that the mind, when the mind automatically, it's like the compass of a needle. So the yogi's mind will be like when the compass of the needle automatically goes to the north. Swami Bhuteshnanji, some of you may have heard of him. He was I forgot which he was a previous president of our order, a great soul. He was initiated by Swami Sharadananda. So one time he went on tapasya. He did not bring any books with him, and he just wanted to see where his mind would go. It's like a test. This is the real test of spirituality. When you have nothing to do, where does your mind go spontaneously? So what he had said is he tried that. He found his mind automatically went to the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. He is an Advaitin. He loves the practice of Advaita Vedanta. He normally would go on sadhana and read different scriptures. along with meditation. But he purposefully did not bring these scriptures with him this time. This Swami Dibyanji, who recently came here, did any of you see any of his talks? He's a vice president of our order. He spoke in Hollywood. Anyways, he used to be my in charge when I was in Shardapit in India. So I'm very close to him. He once had an experience of death that when he was, the doctor thought he had died. At that time, he found that his mind was, he heard the doctor say, "Oh, I think he's dying." And at that mind, his mind just immediately went to Sri Ramakrishna. It didn't see anything else. It immediately just shot straight to Sri Ramakrishna. So this is what we also have to do, that it's day and night, this type of, this satasat vichar, day and night, this type of practice of cutting the bad things. We talked about this when we go on the internet. Are we applying our discrimination there at that time? Are we seeing that, are we not just taking things in, but are we applying our discrimination? Are we not allowing ourselves to get too attached to present circumstances? Even politics, knowing that one side that these things are there and we have to at least try to do our part. But on the other hand, we have to also be detached, because the world is, like Ramakrishna said, like a curly dog's tail. No matter how you try to curl it up, how to try to straighten it out, it again becomes curly again. So this type of thing, this always, that's our ultimate goal. As much as we develop this rasham for spiritual things, for meditation, for discussing with others, for reading the lives of the great souls, to that extent, we're cultivating what you call these aklishta vrittis. Okay. Did I
Swamiji, I have a question about the
Yes.
previous paragraph.
Yes, please go ahead.
Not the one that we were just reading, but the one before that.
Okay.
So there is a reference to like samskaras,
Yes.
like that we will never be able to get rid of our samskaras. Something to that effect.
Yeah, no, actually, you know what? There's a further stage that's called Dagda Bija. So the most we can do is what you call is attenuation of the vrittis. So most we can do is weaken it. And that's usually enough. But then there's a further stage called Dagda Bija. Once you've weakened it sufficiently, next stage is to burn it up. So, like think of these things like weeds. So if the weed is burnt up, it cannot sprout again. Same thing with the evil tendencies of our mind. They will always be there, but at a certain stage, through intense concentration, these klishta vrittis, they get burnt up, and then they don't sprout again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Swamiji,
Yes. Who's speaking?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. Yes.
Okay, so is there a direct link, a connect?
You cut out a little bit. Can you please speak again? I can't hear you.
You can hear me, sorry.
No, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Can the yoga be considered as a powerful tool or instrument to for mankind's manifestation?
Yeah, you cut out
As
again.
Vivekananda mentioned.
Yeah, you cut I think your internet or something, you're cutting in and out. You said, can it be considered a powerful tool for
You're
what?
having trouble hearing me, Swamiji?
Now I can hear you, but you sometimes cut in and out. A powerful tool for what?
Does the yoga can be considered?
Okay, I think you're cutting in and out. Yeah.
I'll wait. You go ahead, please.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt.
Okay, so Balakrishna ji, why don't you read this next the next paragraph right here? You gotta turn on your speaker. Okay. Okay, I'll just read it. Through the practice of yoga, the yogi attempts to supplant all the rajasic and tamasic samskaras with sattvic ones until these two are restricted in the higher states of meditative concentration. This is because while sattvic samskaras, the non-detrimental vrittis mentioned by Patanjali in the sutra, are conducive to liberation, they nonetheless are still vrittis, and thus an external distraction to the pure consciousness of the Atman. Of course, as Vijnana Bhikshu is one of the commentators, points out all vrittis, including sattvic ones, are ultimately detrimental from the absolute perspective of the Purusha, as they bind consciousness to the world of matter. So the notions of detrimental and non-detrimental are from the relative perspectives of samsara. The detrimental, rajasic, and tamasic vrittis cause pain, and the non-detrimental, sattvic ones at least lead in the direction of liberation, even though they too must eventually be given up. Does let me ask Balakrishna, did you read the Gospel of Ramakrishna? Do you remember he talks about the different robbers? So the three robbers, right? The three robbers represented what? One of the robbers, they robbed a person, they bound him and tied him up. Then one of the robbers said, let's kill him. Then the other robber said, no, let's just leave him there. Let's not kill him. And the third robber, he was a sattvic robber. When the other two had left, he went, he untied them, and he said, this is the place you can go back to your home and your family. Then the man who got robbed was so grateful. He said, thank you so much. Why don't you come to my house and I will, my family will be so happy to meet you. Then what did this sattvic this robber say? No, I cannot go. If I go, I'll be in trouble by the police. This third robber represented sattva. Even the sattvic vritti has to be given up. Even the good and bad, all ultimately have to be given up, because anything that binds us to this world of materiality, what you call prakriti, ultimately all these things have to be given up because they're all impermanent.
This is the same thing Vivekananda says.
Yeah.
Iron chain and gold chain, they both are chains.
Yes, go on. Yes. Very true. Very true.
These examples are nice, but in real practice,
Yeah.
I find difficulty. So I'll just give an example and let me know if that is correct or wrong.
Yeah.
For example, a sattvic tendency would be like a walk in a park, quiet walk in a park or spending time in nature, and you feel good about it. But it's also sattvic. And then at some time, if you go deeper, if your meditation is really good, you just want to stay in awareness, just pure awareness, it just happens. At that time, that is going beyond that sattvic vritti. Is that something correct? Or that awareness also is a sattvic vritti?
Yeah, even then the awareness, you want to stay in the awareness, but even then you have to what do you say? You can say that. You can say that that's sattvic vritti. But at this stage, I don't want to emphasize. Ultimately, we want to cultivate sattvic vrittis now because we have too many impurities in our mind. So our goal is actually to go and more towards that, to keep cultivating these different types of sattvic vrittis. Okay, let's go on now to the next one. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Brahmadas, do you well, let me just see. Do you want to read this next line right here? Let's go
Well,
next.
I don't have the PDF. If someone would email me the PDF, please.
Oh, okay. We'll do that next time. Okay. Okay. Is this Maria? Hi, Maria. Nice to see you. Would you like to read this last one right here? Actually, we just went through this right here. Okay. Let me just quote this, excuse me. Vijnana Bhikshu quotes the Bhagavad Purana here to make the point. Other things must be eliminated by sattva, and then sattva is eliminated by sattva. Also, vrittis that are truly and literally aklishta, not subject to any ignorance at all, can only point to the state of jivan mukta, liberated while still embodied. This verse thus gives a clear indication that it is possible to act in the world in one's pratik body and mind from an enlightened perspective, free from ignorance. So, Silas, what you were saying, so if our minds become fully pure, fully sattva, eliminated by sattva, so then even then you can say that then the sattva vritti is still there though. So when saying must be eliminated by sattva, and then sattva being eliminated by sattva is the last stage, because then we don't have any further attachment to this world. And that's called this asapragnata samadhi, which is the ultimate state. After that actually comes the dissolution of the mind-body complex. Okay, let's now go to this. Let's all chant this together. I'll chant it once, and then we all chant together. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayaha.
Pramana
Viparyaya
viparya
kalpa
ya vikalpa
Vikalpa
nidra
nidra smritaya.
smritaya.
Let's try. Pramana viparyaya vikalpa nidra smritayaha.
Pramana
Pramana
viparyaya
viparyaya
vikalpa
vikalpa
nidra
nidra
smritaya.
smritaya.
So these 5 vrittis are right knowledge, error. So right knowledge is this pramana. That's epistemology, source of right knowledge. So it's proof. And then viparyaya, that means error. Vikalpa, something imagination. Subjective. We don't know actually. Sometimes we think that okay, I'm this person, but sometimes that's just in our imagination, or sometimes we think we see something, but we did not. It's just in our imagination. Nidras, sleep. We also attain knowledge in our sleep state. Sometimes we have dreams. In our dreams, we attain knowledge. And final one is memory. Reflecting upon the past, we acquire knowledge in that way too. So the vrittis which bind Purusha to the world of samsara are enumerated here. Patanjali lists 5 distinct types of vrittis. The implication in essence is that the human mind finds itself in one of these 5 states at any given moment. So one of these 5 states, according to the yoga tradition, all possible mental states that can be experienced can be categorized as manifestations of one of these 5 types of vrittis. Any other states of mind that one might conceive of would be considered by the yoga tradition as a subset of one of these 5 essential categories. The commentators reserve their comments for the ensuing sutras, which explain. So we're going to go each of these one by one. But these are 5 different ways that we attain knowledge. Let me just see what Swamiji says. There are 5 classes of modification. There are right knowledge, pramana, viparyaya, indiscrimination, verbal delusion, sleep, nidra, and memory, smriti. Okay, now let's first find out what is meant by pratyaksha. Let's see what Swamiji says here. Rajiv, would you like to read this part, this next one, Swamiji?
Yes, Swamiji. There are 5 classes of modification: painful and not painful. These
No, go ahead. You're reading. I said 1.7. This one you can read. This 1.
okay. Direct perception, inference, and competent evidence are proofs.
Yeah. Now read this next. What Swamiji says below. We're going to talk about here. What does pratyaksha mean? And let me actually read that. I should read pratyaksha. We'll read this pratyaksha anumana agamaha pramanani. Everyone.
Pratyaksha
Anumana
anumana agamaha pramanani.
So pratyaksha is, what is pratyaksha? These are the different types of, what does pramana mean? What are the different ways that we obtain right knowledge? One is pratyaksha, first-hand perception, right? 7 senses. Anumana, that inference. So the classic Advaitic example would be that we see smoke. The other day we saw smoke nearby. So we can infer that there's a fire there. Agamaha, as what Swayamji was mentioning, the scriptures verbal testimony, scriptures, the great rishis say this. So that's enough for it to, we can have faith that it must be true. These are the three different types of what you say, right knowledge. Okay? Is that clear? So these are the different ways we have to look for right knowledge. So we have to be careful that when something is in the scripture, you don't have to blindly accept it, but you have to give it at least the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, I don't get it yet, but let me stay with it and let me think over it. It's probably right. I just don't get it yet. That's what this agamaha. Anumana, you see this, you see smoke, so you can infer it must be and pratyaksha, your first-hand perception. Okay, Rajiv, you can read this next one right here of Bryant.
Okay, from the brand.
Yeah.
The first of the 5 vrittis to be discussed is pramana, the central concern of epistemology. That is, what sources constitute valid knowledge of an object, the methods of attaining accurate information about reality. Philosophy, and of course science, Sankhya, after all, sees itself as dealing with physical verifiable truths, have as their goals the attainment of knowledge about reality. So it is standard in Indic philosophical discourse for scholastics to state which methods of attaining such knowledge of reality they accept as valid. The yoga school accepts 3 sources of receiving knowledge, as does the Sankhya tradition, Sankhya Karika 4. But the other philosophical schools accept differing numbers from 1 to 6.
Okay, so that's what. So there are other different in besides Vedanta accepts these 3, but Buddhism school, there's different extents to different types of knowledge, what you consider to be right knowledge. Let's now go with what Swami Vivekananda says here. Just so we can compare. Maria, would you like to read this right here? Can you see what Swamiji says? Okay, I don't think she can. Okay. Okay, it's not. I'll just read it. When 2 of our perceptions do not contradict each other, we call it proof. This is what we're talking about, direct perception. I hear something, and if it contradicts something already perceived, I begin to fight it out and do not believe it. There are also 3 kinds of proof: direct perception, pratyaksham. Whatever we see and feel is proof if there has been nothing to delude the senses. I see the world. That is sufficient proof that it exists. Secondly, anumana, inference. You see a sign, and from the sign you come to the thing signified. Thirdly, aptavakyam, the direct perception of the yogi, of those who have seen the truth. We are all of us struggling towards knowledge. This aptavakyam is the same thing as agama. Agama is what? Is the scriptural knowledge, the conclusions of the rishis. We are all of us struggling towards knowledge, but you and I have to struggle hard and come to knowledge through a long, tedious process of reasoning. But the yogi, the pure one, has gone beyond all this. Before his mind, the past, the present, and the future are like one book for him to read. He does not require to go through all this tedious process, and his words are proof, because he sees knowledge in himself. He is the omniscient one. In Sanskrit, we call that Sarvagya. So Ramakrishna was like that. Ramakrishna, we just, I don't know how many of you saw, last week, we went, on Tuesday, we went on a tour through Dakshineshwar. And then we saw that Ramakrishna, we pointed out this sadhan kutir, where he did this tapasya for practicing Advaita under the guidance of Totapuri. And it took Totapuri 40 years to obtain Brahmagyana. Ramakrishna acquired it in 3 days. He was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, just like that. So he was thinking, Totapuri was thinking, what is this? I struggled for 40 years and Ramakrishna gets it like that. So this apta vakyam, These are the direct, they see. So such a person like a Ramakrishna, if he looks at us, he sees our past. In fact, Ramakrishna used to say he can see the inside of us like a clear glass case. What's inside a clear glass container? Like that, they can see what's inside of us, the past, the present, and also the future. Before his mind, the past, the present, and the future are like one book for him to read. He does not require to go through all this tedious process, and his words are proof because he sees knowledge in himself. He is the omniscient one. These, for instance, are the authors of the sacred scriptures. Therefore, the scriptures are proof, and if any such persons are living now, their words will be proof. Other philosophers go into long discussions about this apta, and they say, what is the proof that this is truth? The proof is because they see it. So even Ramakrishna, sometimes he had certain visions that you could not even trace in the scriptures. It went beyond the scriptures. But what they see, that becomes scripture. The proof is because they see it, because whatever I see is proof, and whatever you see is proof. If it does not contradict any past knowledge, there is knowledge beyond the senses, and whenever it does not contradict reason and past human experience, that knowledge is proof. Violet, what do you think of this? This is a very subtle statement. What do you think of this? There is knowledge beyond the senses, and whenever it does not contradict reason and past human experience, that knowledge is proof. What do you think that means? Does not beyond the senses. How do you take that?
Beyond the senses. For me, it brings up earlier in the book, he says, like, that knowledge is beyond even reason. Here it says it can't contradict reason, but he says it's even beyond reason, so it's beyond what you can experience with your senses. You have to go inward.
Yes. This is why we say Vedanta is scientific. Other religions won't say this. They'll maybe the world is created in 7 days, but where is that in the science? That's why Vedanta does not contradict science. Vedanta yoga, it goes beyond science, but does not contradict. Any madman may come into this room and say that he sees angels around him. That would not be proof. In the first place, it must be true knowledge. And secondly, it must not contradict knowledge of the past. And thirdly, it must depend upon the character of the man. This is also important, the character of the person. I hear it said that the character of the man is not of so much importance as what he may say. We must first hear what he says. This may be true in other things. A man may be wicked and yet make an astronomical discovery, but in religion it is different, because no impure man will ever have the power to teach the truths of religion. Therefore, we first of all have to see that the man who declares himself to be an apta is a perfectly unselfish and holy person. Secondly, that he has reached beyond the senses. And thirdly, that what he says does not contradict the past knowledge of humanity. So sometimes you have these people, they say they're enlightened, yet you know that one person, he was a cult leader, he had all his persons, they drank this Kool-Aid that killed them all themselves, right? So no impure man will ever have the power to reach the truths of religion. Be unselfish. Any new discovery of truth does not contradict the past truth, but fits into it. And fourthly, that truth must have a possibility of verification. If a man says, I have seen a vision, and tells me that I have no right to see it, I believe him not. Everyone must have the power to see it for himself. No one who sells his knowledge is an apta. All these conditions must be fulfilled. You must first see that the man is pure, and that he has no selfish motive, that he has no thirst for gain or fame. Secondly, he must show that he is super conscious. Thirdly, he must given us something that we cannot get from our senses, and which is for benefit of the world. And we must see that it does not contradict other truths. If it contradicts other scientific truths, reject it at once. Let me see who I've not called on today. Geeta ji, do you want to say what, or would you want to say what what do you think he might mean by that? If it does not, he must see that it does not contradict other truths. If it contradicts other scientific truths, reject it at once. What do you think?
I'm not well today, so I will
Oh, that's
not
okay.
be-
Okay, no,
yeah.
no, no problem. Okay, that's okay. Brahmadas, are you there? Okay. 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 Anyone want to take a stab at that? That'll be our final point. It does not contradict other scientists. If it
Yes,
contradicts
I'm here. I was unable to unmute. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess my take on that is if we know something to be true and the hypothesis does not contradict what we know to be true, then we can consider it to be possibly true.
So, do you want to give an example?
Okay, an example. Okay. I know that when my cat's meowing at me, she's usually hungry. And my cat's meowing at me right now, so I'm guessing she's probably hungry.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Swamiji, like,
Yes.
what is the apta? Apta is the guru or
The
the
apta is the same thing in this what we had agama. Agama has the scriptures. So that's the realizations of the rishis. And apta is that who has a supersensuous realization. That realization which goes beyond the senses. So it goes beyond the conscious mind. We have the unconscious, the conscious, and then what Swamiji says, the superconscious.
also like there was a statement by Swami Vivekananda here that anybody who sells his knowledge is not an apta.
Right.
And so is that like a sort of a warning for us, I guess?
Well, at the same time, you can say that, but at the same time, like Ramakrishna said that selling knowledge, but they also have to survive too, right? Some of them, especially we're in an organization, but others, they might be by themselves. So how will they survive though? That they're so sometimes, but they won't try to make like a profit on it. That's true. And that's very true. They should not charge an excessive amount. That type of knowledge, charging excessive, that type of thing is that the idea is that if you're involving the idea of profit making, then that contradicts this that brings into doubt, is this person, is he saying something that's really, because like Ramakrishna, you see in Dakshineshwar, he sat there, he used to say in one place, the reason that people like coming here is because I don't pass out that, what do you call that? The pot with the, you have to give money. So he said for that reason people like coming to him.
The collection plate.
The collection plate, right? So Ramakrishna, he himself said that, so everybody laughed. So he doesn't like. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the way I look at that statement, it does not contradict other truths. Is, for example, Ramakrishna saw, Dvaita, Advaita, he saw everything together, he saw Devi, and then he felt that she was there. And of course, when Vivekananda challenges him, he goes and says, you go and see it. He doesn't say that you believe it, you go and test it yourself.
Yes.
So I think that is the big thing they are talking about, that, like yesterday you were talking about Puri, and you said you touched the idol and you felt the power. Now, one has to test it, and there is nothing wrong in testing. And that's what you did. You tested it, and then you felt the power. And I think that's what you're trying to, I think what he is trying to say here, that, if there is a scientific truth, and if Ramakrishna says, I saw God, then, we have to try, and if we are able to see it, then it is a truth.
Yes. Try it and also keep at it as well, right?
Yeah,
That's what he's
keep at
saying. Keep at it, right? So that's interesting you say that. So that reminds me of a Sister Nivedita, that one time, somebody was teasing her in front of Swami Vivekananda, He said that, you see, it took you a long time to accept Swami Vivekananda, but we could accept him from the very beginning. Swamiji heard this. Then Swamiji afterwards told Nivedita, never feel bad that you struggled to accept something. Then he said, I struggled for 7 years with my master. And because of that, I know this path every inch of the way. So what is very true. What you say is very true. So that's that it's there, and he encourages us to seek it out for ourselves. In fact, in another instance, Ramakrishna was sitting with a group of devotees, and one of the devotees was challenging Ramakrishna. The other devotee told this devotee, why don't you just believe what he says? Ramakrishna looked at that devotee who said that and said, what kind of man are you that you're just going to accept something without fully understanding it? What kind of person are you? So yes.
Swamiji, while that is there, but
Yeah.
that also, this is kind of a little different in the gospel, in the Kathamrita, like there is an incident where Mathur Babu is like talking about like, where can a red flower grow in a plant that only produces white flowers? And then Ramakrishna says, well, in the mother's realm, anything is possible.
Right.
And the next day, he takes Mathur Babu and he shows a plant where a red flower that's growing in that plant, which has all these white flowers. So while that's there, but in the mother's realm, I think everything is possible. And of course, now we are celebrating Durga Puja, so maybe that's a way to look at it too.
That's true. That's true. So you never be so in a way that's you're right. So never be absolutely certain in our knowledge, because it's it's so small, and you know, the number of things that you're right. Anything is possible for the Divine Mother. In fact, they said that that's also in the Kathamrita that Narada, someone asked Narada, what is God doing right now? He said he's passing a camel through the eye of a needle. And then the person just said, how could that be? But how could it not be? So anything is possible in God's power. That's true.
Swami,
Yes.
That's out of the New Testament.
Yeah, I think the couple of sentences sound simple, but it's a lot to unravel. It says when we must see that it does not contradict other truths. If it contradicts other scientific truths, reject it at once. What is science? What is a scientific truth? I mean, things keep changing all the time. You know, what is even in the field of science, there's constant new discoveries, and what was considered truth few years back becomes totally opposite. So it's a little hard to digest that.
Right.
That, you know, science is also not as a fixed, maybe some aspects of science are, but other aspects do keep evolving over, you know, as more experiments are done or more technology helps uncover something. What was once considered scientific truth gets changed.
That's very true. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. So are there any fundamental truths then? Would you say anything fundamental that how would you answer that then? How would it
You know, if I may interject.
Yeah.
Now, I used to be a scientist and a researcher, and the whole point of scientific truth is you keep experimenting, you test it yourself, you read and you research, and either you agree or disagree. That is the whole part of scientific process. You know, like somebody did an experiment, created a sample size and got some conclusions, then I can replicate it. Only when it is replicated and I get the same result as what you did, then I accept it. But if I did a similar sample and my results are different, I'm going to definitely publish and say that you might have had a fault in yours. So that is the way science goes. You know, so it's a testing. You keep testing until I am totally convinced that what you said is right.
Until you have enough proof.
Yeah, enough proof.
To say that.
That's true.
I just like to add, according to Einstein, science is every refinement of everyday thinking. That is what is science is about. Refinement.
So,
Yes.
what do you, how would that apply to this?
I'm sorry?
So how would that apply to this? So how would that apply to this?
No,
That,
I heard the comment that science changing and exactly
right,
opposite.
right.
In that context, I'm saying science is refinement of
Yeah,
everyday thinking means
yeah,
we keep refining what we think today is we know of, but then we refine and maybe we understand a little more. That's what I meant to say.
yeah, yeah, right. Anyways, I think that's a good Swamiji, I think that's a very good point you raised out. So if Swamiji were here, we could I agree with you. So I can't say that that's you know, and I guess what was said, that's what you said. I agree with that too. So things keep changing.
Yeah,
So
I guess I made that comment because in my own practice as a physician, things changed. What was once considered the gold standard for a particular treating a particular condition was totally changed a few years later with
Right.
new research. So
Right.
the word truth, I don't know how applicable it is to if we consider the absolute truth as the Advaita. Science is ultimately a relative truth, maybe.
relative
But
truth, but
isn't
you
that
could say like,
Swami?
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to understand a little bit that
Yes,
what is we're talking about is Apta's words. So
right,
Apta's words, are they fitting at that time? Okay, the science might change at the next year.
right.
But at the present time, whatever the truth, whatever the science is teaching, is that coincides with his words.
Right, or does it not coincide, or does it not contradict?
Yes.
Does it not contradict?
Yes.
Yes. And I think an example of that would be not just, but if you say the world is created in 7 days, but we know about this idea of Darwinism. So that would probably be, maybe you might say that might contradict science, that the world's created in 7 days. Where's the proof for that? That doesn't, not that it cannot happen, but I think Swamiji might, that's one aspect of it, might be.
Excuse me, Swamiji, if I may talk
Yes.
about Swamiji, I put my question in the chat box when you get a chance.
Oh, okay. We'll just go to that now because we're. Do you want to just read the question? That'd be easier.
Or you weren't able to hear me, so I put it on the chat box. Can yoga be regarded as a tool to help manifest mankind's divinity in every movement of life, as Swami Vivekananda said?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's absolutely. But those are high words, to manifest in every movement of life. So let's try for one movement of life first and start from there. Every movement, that's the ultimate goal. That's the end state. But we strike like just this moment right now, can we get more awareness and more control of ourselves in this moment and fall not prey to our bad habits and keep strengthening our good habits and our spiritual habits. I think that ultimately that's what this is talking about regarding that question, which was the 1.5, Klishta and Aklishta Vrittis. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. But Swamiji, don't get me wrong. This is a quote from Swamiji, and I
Right.
just want to read to you.
Yeah.
My ideal indeed can be put into few words, and
Right.
that is to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of life, quote unquote.
Yes, and that's the end goal in yoga or Vedanta as well. Yes, that manifest, and he talks about that in Raja Yoga, the idea of manifestation. So that's absolutely true. That's the goal. So yes, that's the goal, but that's the end state. So
Okay.
it's also that what you're saying, that's the end state, but then
Yeah.
also how to keeping that in mind, how do we bring that to the right here and right now as well? So both that's our end state is to first realize ourselves and manifest that in every movement of life. That's definitely the goal. But then what does that do for us right now? We're right here where we are. So what do we do with that? So yoga's balancing both the ideal with the real. It's not idealizing everything, just be like this. Otherwise, we'll never progress. It's okay, we're here right now. This is our true state. Yes, we should be manifesting in every moment and every breath, every talk. But how do we get there? So this is not Vedanta. Vedanta says Tattvamasi, thou art that. that everything else is thou art that. Yeah, but here we're talking about the means. And Swamiji did say in another place that if one fixes the goal, then one can put all the energy in the means. And if you put the energy in the means, the ends must come. So if we put the energy in the means, then the ends of manifesting this movement in every moment of life must come. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was trying to connect. You were talking about yoga. Is that a tool to help us manifest? That's my point.
Yeah, I understand now. So it's both a tool and an end both.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a good, thank you for bringing that up. I now understand so that it's both a means as well as an end.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. That's a good point. Okay. So I think it's 5:50. So I think it's 7:50. So we're gonna close today. So any other questions? Otherwise, we'll close up right now.
Swami, I just had one quick question.
Sure.
Earlier, Swamiji says you and I have to struggle.
Right.
Is he being very humble in bringing himself to us, our level? I mean, he's also a yogi of the highest order.
Where did he say you and I have to? Where's that?
I think earlier in one it says you and I have to struggle.
Yeah, Swamiji was always very much like that. He never had this holier than thou attitude towards anybody. He was always, that's the greatness of Swamiji. He never said you, he said we. And Swamiji, as long as you, and that's the struggle is that, what was Swamiji's struggle? He had a struggle too. He wanted to bring the work of the master. He wanted to spread that. So he faced so many different obstacles. That's also a struggle in itself too. And so I think Swamiji also, even though he was the Sapta Rishi, he also, when living here, he was very open and he was very, what do you say? That you can look at Swamiji in two ways. You can look at him as this ever-perfect God man, but many of us like to see Swamiji also as Narendra Datta and see that transformation in him and see how he became Swami Vivekananda. And but I think what you just said, that's when he's saying this concept of when Bangla Sharla means guilelessness. And that not having this holier than thou attitude, that that everyone's struggling, right? Who's not unless you're free from the bondages of this world. So Swamiji also was struggling, not for himself, but for the sake of Ramakrishna's work, he was struggling. That's the difference. His struggle will not be for himself. His struggle will be for the suffering of others. Our struggle is just for our own body, mind, conscious. But he is free from that. So you could just say he doesn't have that egoic struggle of his own body, mind, consciousness. His struggle will be for the upliftment of women, the poor women in India, for the upliftment of the poor, upliftment of India, upliftment of the world itself. His struggle is to remove the ignorance of all of us. That's it.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Swamiji, before
Yes.
we end the class, are you going to talk on this Sunday?
No, I think I'm sorry, because I have to go. I'm gonna actually be excused from that because these talks I'm giving on Tuesday are taking also a lot out of me, and so I think that I'm not gonna be able to speak this Sunday. So thank you for asking.
That's fine. That's fine.
Swamiji, that was excellent. The one on Puri was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I learned so much. Like I had no idea about like the things that you talked about yesterday. I had like zero knowledge of that. That was amazing.
Yeah. There's a lot. I also didn't. I just I've been putting many times, but I also didn't know actually till So there's so many things. So there's each of these places. There's so many different things and so many different. So Jagannath is Anantam, infinite in so many different ways.
And Swamiji, earlier you asked what is that Shraddha? I saw Shraddha in what you were speaking, and that was amazing. I mean, and I knew you were born and brought up here, and the Shraddha with which you described the whole thing, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's yeah.
I have one question. Do you mind if I ask you one question?
Sure, yeah.
Like, you talked about how Subhadra, Krishna, and Balrama, they visit their the auntie. So
Right.
what happens at the temple? There is no image there at the temple at that time.
No, yeah, there's no image at that time. So everything that's empty. So nothing's going, no puja is going on at that time. Yeah. You're right.
Oh,
Yeah. So
interesting.
that's because the deities have left. You see, in South India, they have these Utsav murtis. They
Right.
don't actually like to say Meenakshi.
Yes. Yes.
Meenakshi, that's a perfect example. In fact, in Meenakshi temple in South India, Tamil Nadu, at nighttime every night, they take the Utsav Murti in a small charioteer and they
Right.
take her around. She's like the Rani of
Right.
Madurai, just moving
Right.
around. And so everyone's paying homage to her. So,
Yeah.
but here they're actually taking the actual image itself out.
Oh,
So that's
It-
the difference.
Yeah, like we did both Chetan and I. We did in Karnataka. We went to Udupi, and
Yeah.
we pulled this. We experienced a little bit of what you experienced. It was we pulled the chariot of Krishna, but they had the Utsavamurti.
I see. Right.
Yeah. But it
Yeah.
was amazing. It was like you said, like the big heavy rope, and you just pull.
I didn't know that they had that in South India. Actually, I thought
Yes,
this was
they
North
have it in the Karnataka, in Udupi, they do it. So we got a chance to do it in Udupi.
Udupi is this. That's actually the birthplace of Madhvacharya.
Yes,
exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
yes,
The great,
Yeah.
great exponent of Dvaita.
right.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people, Hare Krishna people there.
I see. That's interesting. No, so yeah, you have different. Even there, you have different traditions in Puri. This Ramanujacharya, who taught us Vishishta Dvaita. This Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who taught us Chintya Achintya Bheda. So Vallabhacharya, who taught us Pushti Marga or Shuddha Dvaita. So you have different, even in the bhakti schools there in Puri, so many different factions of bhakti. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just close with a chant now. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So if you can, as Celesti's try to chant more this Jai Shri Durga during this time. It's a very auspicious time now. And we do that, and prayers that during this auspicious time may our minds become more and more purified, and may our desire for the vision of the Divine Mother increase correspondingly, and may we also try to have that vision. Jai Ma, we'll see you next time.
So just a short announcement here.
Yeah.
That we will be doing the chanting of Jai Shri Durga from 10:15 to 10:30. Maybe do a Durga Puja just in our shrine, and then we'll chant from 10:30 to 11 o'clock, and we'll have and I think we are going to ask Swami Chidekananda to talk. So
Very wonderful.
yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Jai Ma.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.